Hello, everyone, and welcome to Authentic Journeys, the podcast where we dive into the depths of self discovery, vulnerability, and healing with a spirit of adventure and playfulness. Today, my guest is Héctor Aristizábal. With over 20 years of experience as a psychotherapist, Héctor has combined his therapeutic work with art and activism. He's the founder and director of ImaginAction, an organization that focuses on using theater and creative arts as tools for social change, healing, and personal transformation in war and post-conflict zones. Co-creator and facilitator of Reconectando, an organization focused on using deep ecology, theater, and ritual to work with victims and ex-combatants. His inspiring journey spans continents, from working with torture survivors and immigrants in the US to collaborating on peace processes in Colombia, to everything in between in Latin America, Europe, and around the world, as far as Afghanistan and India. His work has earned him prestigious awards, and his autobiography, The Blessing Next to the Wound, a story of art, activism, and transformation, reflects his profound commitment to healing and transformation. And for me and the community El Juego, you're also a friend, a colleague, and an inspiration. So welcome to the podcast, Héctor.
Thank you, my friend. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So this podcast, and actually the chapter that the first chapter I'm doing is kind of goes around the topic of passion. Yeah, what does? And the first question would be like listening to all your curriculum. Yeah, to all these different art and like organizations and foundations and the activism, like what does passion mean to you?
Well, I cannot give you definitions of anything, but I can give you, and probably in the spirit of El Juego also, how do I feel about it right now? All of this is constantly changing. But I think I connect today passion with that which drives people, that drives me. Is that when I awake, my whole energy, my eros, the connection to life leads me towards that. And it's the things that I read, it's the things that I do, it's how I do it, it's how I want to get better and better or learn more and more about the things that attract me. Some people might say is the purpose also in life. I would also say that is maybe connected to most of the mythologies that I have encountered. I like this idea that we come to the world with something that we want to do. We come to the world carrying gifts and carrying a diamond, as the Greeks call it, or a genius, as the Romans call it, or the Native Americans call it a medicine that we want to give the world. That is the thing that drives us at the deepest level. Of course, we also live in society and we need to survive and we need to create a niche in which to be. But the main reason we are here is to develop our purpose and is to develop our passion. Is that the thing that gives us the most fulfillment and that drives everything that we do.
You know, so because also to give some background, like I started reading your book and also your TED Talk, you start sharing this moment in the 1980s when you were taken by the military, and like how do you feel, or first if you would like to share how this experience, or about this experience, but how it also affected this mission or this purpose or this genius or this medicine.
I lately, especially in the last 10 years, I feel that we as a world are becoming more and more aware of what is being called collective trauma. And collective trauma also connects to the traumas that all of us as individuals experience in life. And some of those are connected to what you just mentioned. I was tortured, and many people in my generation in Colombia were kidnapped, tortured. Most of them were killed. Very few of us were able to survive, or lucky enough to survive. For other people, I work in Colombia now, and every day in my work, I listen to stories about kidnappings, about massacres, about the destruction of entire territories by armed groups. But also, I listen to the stories, the personal stories of many women that have been raped, molested as kids, as well as the stories of maybe less obvious woundedness as abandonment.
Yeah.
There are some people, regardless of their economic backgrounds, who have been abandoned, who have never seen their parents, or their parents, even if they are alive, they are never present. Even if they are next to you, they are not present emotionally. And that's also a source of incredible woundedness. However, the main woundedness that I am interested in, both in my life and the people I work with, is that place where precisely the gift that you have to give has not been blessed. And very few people, I think, in our modern life are seen by others and blessed by others. Meaning that we carry a gift, but the gift needs to be seen by others and blessed by others. It's what used to be called initiation, rite or passage. Is that moment in which you need to be seen as the writer that you are, as the poet that you are, as the dancer that you are, as the astronomer or astrologer that you are, as the person interested in nature that you are. All of us carry a certain sensitivity that is unique, but it has to be seen. It's very important that others not only see it and bless it, but that there is a society, a community, a niche in which you can develop that and give it to others. Because that's the other paradox. The gift is in you, but it's not for you. It's to be given. And we all need a place to give the gift. So I feel that the woundedness that I'm most interested in is that which is in all of us that supposedly inspire us to incarnate. If we were spirits, we said, I want to live that paradigm. This is the story that the Greeks tell, that you see a paradigm, a life, and you say, that's the life, exactly the life that I want to live, so I can give my gift. And then we're born and we forget everything. So life is about remembering. So the things that happen to us in our lives are not there to screw us or to sicken us or to destroy us, but they are there for us to overcome and become who we are. So whatever happens to you is just your path. And your job is to overcome abandonment, rape, torture, a huge catastrophe, natural catastrophe that destroy everything that you knew. War is one of the worst ways of being initiated. Poverty, you were born without arms and blind or whatever. Those is what is called the fate. And you need to assume that fate in order to find your destiny. It's not that because you are blind or you are this or that, then you won't be able to develop. I don't think so. That's just part of the conditions.
So many clicks are coming to me from different sources that I'm reading. For example, I'm Gabor Mate, of course, this Canadian doctor. He talks about when a child is born and growing up, that we have two main needs: authenticity and dependence. And the dependence always comes first because we need others to survive. So we surrender, or we give our authenticity in order to fit. If someone rejects my anger, then okay, I'll repress it in order to be part of the tribe. But what you are like suggesting or saying, actually the healing would be that the tribe celebrates this authenticity instead of repressing it. and that I feel very powerful. It's like a continuation, it's the next step.
Yeah, and I think that we're always in that dance. Is how do we belong? How do we are accepted by the conditions that we are living in, while at the same time not losing who we are? Which is what I guess you are referring to and Gabor Mate as authenticity. The most difficult thing in life is to be authentic, is to be genuine, is to be who we are. But it's the only thing worth trying. For a while, you used to say, live your life, because everybody else's is taken.
Yeah.
It's like we are called to fulfill that which we came here to do. Sometimes some conditions will allow that or encourage that or nourish that. And some other times it will be the opposite. We will be the receivers of oppression and conditions of deprivation. I was born in a family that could hardly eat, you know, and for many of the people around me, that became a condition that few of them were able to overcome. For others, like me, it just gave me the strength to fight for what I felt was also my right. You know, it wasn't just for a few people that had the right to eat well and to go to school and to travel and to be happy, etc. Although that doesn't guarantee happiness, but I felt that I needed to struggle to that. But there was also a moment in my life that I felt that struggling was not going to give me a lot of the things that I also wanted, you know. So, but we are conditioned by life circumstances, but it comes also the moment in which we become aware of what are the mechanisms that we're using to get what we want, and we can change it. And that's the beautiful thing about human beings, is that we are in constant transformation. Like nature also. Nature is also in constant transformation. And the storms that life brings us, the things that happen to us. All of a sudden, I find myself that my partner that I adore, that I'm fine with, wants to divorce me. And it's like, what? And it changes your entire life. And I said, yes, you need to go through it and then come back to yourself. Doesn't matter how many times we're abandoned, at the end, what we're left with is ourselves. That dance, I think is a beautiful look at it.
Yeah, and also what you're saying of to find this purpose, I also am reading this book from Mihalovich, something like that, called Flow, and he talks about this experience of flow, of doing something that you love, but being really good at it. So it's like needs a lot of effort to get to the state of flow. And he speaks about like different studies that were made. They have a different kind of test in order to see if people are in flow state or not. And they did it to different people in different environments, and they did it to also handicapped people. And they found like if people that maybe they didn't have a purpose before, but they found like themselves, okay, they are blind by a disease or by an accident or handicapped, they cannot walk, or these actually people find like a deeper meaning or a stronger will, and actually their life becomes more full of joy and like commitment and pursue and purpose than before the accident.
Absolutely. Wow. I would like to question that word handicap.
Yeah.
It's not politically correct. No, but it's not only that is what they call today disabilities. But the disability can be transformed into disability. For example, I did theater with a man who was blind from birth. And we used to do this exercise. We put 100 objects on a table, cover it with a blanket, and then got the blanket out for 1 minute, and we will look with our eyes, and he will touch with his hand until it was 1 minute, and they said, that's it. And then we had to write down all the objects that we remember that were on top of the table. And we were 12 people, and he always remembered 75% of the objects. We could hardly remember 30% of the objects, 40% maximum. He could see more than us.
Yeah.
That was the tag. When we were waiting, there was a friend of mine who was always late, sometimes on. He will always, before the person will come, will say, "Oh, Gloria is coming. Oh, Alvaro is coming." But 10 minutes before, because he heard the car parking in the parking lot, because he heard the knocks of the shoes of Gloria. We could only see Gloria when she opened the door. Anyway, so he had other skills that we didn't have because we took for granted our most of our senses. A person that fate takes away your arms or in a car accident or an illness or whatever, yes, you can become a victim of this and say, "Oh, my life is ruined. My life is over." Or you can overcome whatever it is that life comes to us, these frail individuals that we are, these frail bodies that we have that can get sick or hurt very easily. But then you have to assume the limitations, the new limitations of your being in the world. And once you assume that, you can find the freedom to overcome them, whatever it is, both physically and emotionally, as well as spiritually. Most of us have been handicapped spiritually. We use that word. Or have been castrated from a lot of the spiritual possibilities that we have. I was raised in a religion, in a very traditional way. So very soon I rejected everything I was taught. And then I rejected spirituality for many, many years. And I became this rational being. Psychoanalysis, Marxism, structuralism, Foucault, whatever. And that was very interesting too. That was very important. But it took out of my life for many years the spiritual dimension. The fact that I'm always also part of cosmos. That was also taken away from us in this story of separation between humanity and nature. And only recently, I have been moving from ego to eco, and now from eco to cosmos. And that the fact that you and I are powder stars, star powder, and that this expanding universe is also inside of us. And now there is a lot of exploration with psychedelics and with medicinal plants and all these things, but it has always been there.
Yeah.
I'm going all over the place. But
yeah.
Back to whatever you want.
No, but also, I find myself very connected with this part of the story about, I was also grew in this very Catholic family from the Opus Dei, so it was like a strong bubble of this is good, this is bad, and that's evil. Exactly this spirituality that after I left school, I was like, no more going to church, and kind of I found out later here in the community that I actually was rejecting all spirituality. So I can feel exactly what you're saying, but also at the same time I left the city and started backpacking and started looking for something that I didn't know what it was. I thought it was another way of living, but more into I want another kind of job, another kind of nutrition, another kind of relationship with others. That's what I thought, but I actually found meditation, medicinal plants, community living, and so it makes complete, and fire and water and forests and rocks. So now I can see more clear what I was looking for as well.
Beautiful. Because if there is a way to understand for me today spirituality, is this awareness, this consciousness that we are interbeing, that we are connected to everything else. We are not separate. We're not separate from nature. We're not separate from each other. We're not separate from ourselves, which also happen a lot. One thing is the ego that we develop, that is very important. I'm not the ego. It's what allows us to drive the car, to go to the moon, etc. But we're more than that. Because when we identify as the ego, we are in a lot of trouble when that ego gets decapitated, which I hope it is many times, by new ideas, by new relations, by new awareness. But the deep self, as one way to understand it, as Carl Jung used to call it, but that essence that we are is also disconnected from us. So our job is continuously being in this dance of reconnecting with ourselves, with each other, and in religion, that division between us and them, and us as good people, sons and daughters of God, and them, the evil people, whatever they are. Ideologically also, we, the good people from the left to the right, and they, the bad people. All these dichotomies and these binary worlds that we have been raised in, that completely obscure and reduce our possibility to experience life in its biodiversity and its incredible openness and expansion. But I feel that we are in an excellent moment in life. And where people like you, who are searchers, can find a place not even knowing what you're looking for, and end up creating and being created by this incredible community that is today El Juego. That I personally find fascinating and admire deeply and love and care for what is happening there.
Yeah, and also what you were talking about, the mind, no, that takes so much space, but at the same time is the youngest of all the organs in the evolution chain. So it's like a teen saying, okay, I know, I love this phrase that says, I used to think that the brain was the most important organ until I realized who was thinking it.
Yeah.
And actually, like the emotions and the needs that are all mammals, minimum mammals know this, the sadness, the fear, the anger, the joy. These have like so much connection also with the body, know how all the system is connected, and the stomach can hold pain and anger or sadness if it's not expressed, and that can become disease if like we're alone with it. It's just fascinating to see also, and I would love to know how do you combine like these all the dimensions also with the ritual theater or deep ecology. How is it? How do you like to do it?
Well, I feel that my work has evolved and is constantly evolving from the connection to other people. I always said that we are healing with others, and I mentioned collective trauma. I feel that today my biggest passion is collective healing. Is how do we create conditions, spaces for healing, and for healing together. And it's not that I am already healed, so I'm going to work with others to heal. It's more, I never mentioned we are going to come together to heal each other. I don't know how to, or to cure each other. I don't know how to do that. But we come together through our stories, through our wounds, through our gifts, through our talents, to create a space where we can work with these things or play with these things, create. I prefer to call it to create with things. A new way of dealing with it at the personal level, at the group level, at the organizational level, because I'm also now working with organizations with ImaginAction, which is a company that we did mention at the introduction, but it's also it's very new in my life to be working inside companies. Because this us and them, I always saw the companies as these evil places, only interested in money and the destruction of life. No, it's full of human beings with dreams, trying their best, and also, there is lots of destruction and lots of unconsciousness, but there is also a lot of softening and a lot of creativity as well, and healing. So how do we create these spaces? In my case, I use what has served me, what has helped me, what has been healing for me. And theater is one of the forms that I have found the most attractive to who I am, my personality, my taste. Because in theater, I have been able to be who I am and who I'm not. And sometimes the who I'm not is more connected to who really I am than the mask that I wear every day in my daily life to survive or to get things, because we always have to negotiate things in the world. So I use theater, I use the body more than the language, the rational language. I use the body to connect groups, to connect people who have never seen each other. So when I play games, we immediately become children. We immediately become humans doing things together, doing things in common and creating a community like that. And then I use other methodologies, and most recently the work of Joanna Macy, the work that reconnects. So I always invite the groups, whatever we're doing, we go back into nature. So I work mostly now in natural spaces and wild spaces. I always try to have water around me, hopefully a river, a running river that flow, that allows us to reconnect to the flow of life. Waterfalls are amazing. I now say that all I do is to prepare people to enter into a waterfall, and with the awareness to ask the waterfall, the grandmother, to take this skin out, so something is reborn, and then find ways to create meaning out of these experiences. What is it that I want to let go, and what is it that I want to be reborn? Because we have that capacity as human beings to be reborn, die and be reborn again, as nature. In nature, there is life, death, and regeneration, renewal. And I feel that humans have also that capacity. Our biological body is constantly changing, dying and being reborn. I don't remember how every day I read something new, or how often all our cells are dead and new ones are coming. And during this conversation, that is happening.
Yeah.
And then some of us can show that is happening in our hairs. Anyway, but how do I do it? I combine theater, I combine obviously all my experience with psychotherapy, with clinical work, with medicinal plants, with experiences like El Juego and your amazing doors, regression. We are always trying to find out what is that incredible world that exists inside of us. I have been very curious about the world, and I have had the luxury of traveling to too many places and traveling to the war zones where probably the worst and the best of humanity can be found. But at the same time, I find that the internal world that we all carry is as fascinating and is as much a mystery as the world is and as the cosmos is. I don't know much about the cosmos, but I find it more and more myself interested in that through meditation and through my studies of what it is that is happening in this world that is constantly changing, where we're constantly mutating. And art is probably the closest practice that I know that deals with that transformation. And the place that I am most interested today is how to design rituals, how to remember that we as humans are able to connect to nature in that place of beauty that are the rituals. Because a healing ritual is simply a place where we acknowledge that something has ended, and then we go through a liminal space where we don't know where we are, because we are no longer in this place of the ending. And something new is started, a new world is started, a new me is started, a new relationship, etc. That we don't know still how it is. That's called a rite of initiation, a rite of passage. It's an initiation, it's a beginning. And I feel that is one of the strongest needs that we have as humanity today, is to recreate the rituals and create new rituals, to be able to help each other mark where something ends and a new thing begins. And we're constantly going through that process of things that die in us, but there is no acknowledgement of that.
Yeah.
So, no. I work a lot in prisons, and people spend lots of years in prisons, and then they came out of prison, and there was no one there to say, hey, you already paid your dues for what you did. Whether it was right or wrong, it was justice or not justice, but you did pay. No, they feel that they never paid. You know, when do we know that we are no longer children and we are now adults? Or when do I know that I'm no longer simply an adult, that I'm now becoming an elder, not an older? I need a community to help me figure this out. Otherwise, I'm constantly doubting what is that. So I feel so many opportunities for rituals to mark the transformations. And we need each other for that. Rituals are a communal event, are also a place of incredible beauty, and are a place of communion between human and nature that I feel humanity is lacking. But fortunately, more and more of us are becoming aware of this, are working every day on creating that.
Yeah, also, this reminds me the difference I read somewhere between ceremony and ritual, where ceremony is a dead ritual, where it's just fixed steps and no life in it. It's more just something that is remembered, but the ritual actually comes with each group, each person, it has its life, because every situation, every individual is unique. So it comes like with this uniqueness on each person.
Absolutely, yeah. Ritual is always a creative act. No ritual can ever be repeated, never. And when I work with people who come from traditional societies where rituals take a year of preparation, it's not that they prepare so the ritual comes out perfect. No, they prepare for when, as they say, when spirit shows up and breaks everything. So all the preparation is for that moment. And they say, oh, spirit just came in because someone just fainted. A tree just fell down on top of something. The fire just got wild, It's beautiful. But yeah, you're right. We have confused repetition with ritual. So some people say, oh, I brush my teeth every day, that's a ritual. Well, no, not in the sense that we're using right now. A ceremony, which is what most religions, organized religions, transform ritual into, becomes this empty, almost empty act of repetition. I repeat, I go up, I go on my knees, I open my mouth, I sing, I get up. It could be beautiful for some people who are devotional, but for most of us, I couldn't find spirituality in that.
This reminds me also of when we were 1 month ago in Switzerland doing a camping experience. Beautiful place in Chateau d'Eau that is next to a forest and a river going by, and we were doing the initial, the start of the event, and we were going to do a fire. So every participant had to go and pick their rocks, and I was with my kids, so also the kids went to pick their own rocks, and they had to make a circle with the rocks for the fire to be taken care of, for the contention. And everyone, so we were playing with this, okay, so see how you feel if you put your rock in front of, next to the other one, and everyone needs to feel that it's like the order is well. So it took like 20-30 minutes for them to decide which rock and which position, and when they were like, okay, fine, Ilam, my son, my 4-year-old son, came and he was like, oh, I think we could do a smaller circle, and he started moving all the rocks. And he created a spiral of the rocks going in the circle, and everyone was like, what's happening? And even me, I was like, okay, well, this is new, this is not, this is the first time that this happened. And it actually created a much more, like, everyone started laughing, and the nervousness and the fear and the joy and the kid. And we ended up actually building a baby fire with his own stones next to the big fire of everyone else. And it was just, I cannot find another word than magical.
Luis, what a beautiful story to synthesize everything we're saying. Is the genuine, spontaneous, that is also connected to being genuine and being authentic action of your son, and then although there is a hesitation in the field, in the camp, but it was allowed, and it created a completely new thing, and it probably reconnected to an ancient knowledge, which is in all of us, because we are all thousands of years old, millions of years old. Your son created a spiral. So, if I am reading what you're saying, that is even more closer to the magic of life than the circle, and etc. And then he accompanied with his own creation, and in that way, his own ceremony also. In that way, ceremony goes back to the initial meaning of ceremony. It's something that is devotional to you, that has meaning to you. In a ritual, is more the community creates a framework for these ceremonies to create some meaning. And if someone comes from the outside, this won't mean anything. You say, oh, what are those people doing there? Do they think they're Indians because they're screaming around the fire? Some people could be completely judgmental because it would not mean anything for them. We create the meaning, we create the intention, and we urgently need to create rituals, which are, again, a creation, a creative act. It's an act of beauty. That's the other thing that I feel is very important to attach to this, is that all ritual is an act of art, of beauty. And that's why most of the art that we know was found in the tombs of ancient people. Because the biggest, most mysterious ritual was created around death, trying to make sense of that mystery that's still a mystery for all of us. We really don't know what happened, but it's beautiful to acknowledge that we don't know, and we're trying to figure it out and to honor it.
And talking about, you were also a little bit before, you're talking about this death and rebirth of each of us in our life. I was just curious if you would like to share, like, which was the last death and rebirth that you experienced, that you find yourself new.
Wow, lots of things. When this torture happened in Colombia, it was very violent here in Medellin. I stayed for a few more years. Many people got killed. My mentor, Héctor Aristizábal, was killed, and then I said, I'm leaving. I didn't know where or why. I ended up in the last place I wanted to be, the United States. I rebuilt my life there. That was another big transition. I started speaking another language, connecting to another culture, but it led me to many other places in the world. And 7 years ago, I returned to Colombia, which I wasn't planning. And it happened very smoothly. I came back, and now I find myself doing this work with deep ecology, theater, and healing rituals, which is what I have found very healing for myself. When I left very wounded, very full of hatred and anger and despair and woundedness. But now that I come back, I hope I'm bringing medicines, the medicines that help me. And now I put that at the service of all the communities, the groups, the ex-combatants and victims that I work with in the territories. But at the same time, I age. When I was saying goodbye to the North, to the United States, I went to the School of Lost Borders and had a vision fast, which is an equivalent of a vision quest. And asked myself, what do I have to bring back to the South from the North? And there were several medicines that came there, like a ritual called the Death Cabin that I had been thinking for ex-combatants that needed that I felt we needed a ritual for these people who have identified with the warrior as warriors for many years, independently we agree or not with what they did, it doesn't matter. But we wanted them to reincorporate to society, to leave their weapon and enter into another place. Unfortunately, enter into a society that never disarmed themselves against them. So it's not easy with the guerrilla and the paramilitaries. But I wanted to create a ritual. At the same time, what came for me is I'm entering 60s. And that's not because of the chronological age, but the questions that I had in my mind, this idea of what are the fruits that I have been able to mature in all these years of experiences in the world. And the invitation I heard was, it's time to start becoming an elder. And I said, what is that? I don't even know if I am an adult, if I qualify yet as an adult. But at the same time, yes, I want to be an elder. And if I don't know how that works, I need to create, to find, to discover the communities in which that role is important, and in which I am blessed in that role. You know, it's not like, oh, I am an elder, and no, it comes from a community. It comes, and somehow the work that I have been doing with Reconectando, with you guys at El Juego, it has been very generous with me in inviting me to assume this role, even if most of the time I felt fake and I feel like an imposter and I feel like I don't know. But you know what? Whether I know it or not is a huge transition that I want to assume. And I want to assume with consciousness and intentionality. And recently I was taking, I was in a Toma or Jahe with a friend of mine, and it was very beautiful because his wife, in a moment, said, "I want to be." It's a young woman. She said, "I want to be a partera, a midwife." And I came to her and said, "But you had 4 children, and like you guys in El Juego, she had them here in her house with her husband and nobody else. And then she had an aneurysma, and she had to relearn how to walk, how to move, how to talk. So you also gave birth to yourself. If you are not a midwife, I don't know what qualifies a midwife." And she was in tears, and we have an embrace. And then I said, because look, I don't know what an elder is, but I'm supposedly in that path. And her partner said to me, "Héctor, I see you as an elder. I see you as a mentor. And for me, it helps me a lot when you take that risk, when you assume that role, you know? And it's not because I'm wise or because I'm older. No, it's a position. It's a position that I am trying to learn what that means. And I'm having the boldness to say it here in front of you. And I don't know what else. But that's probably the biggest transition that I'm going through. I also just lost my mom. I didn't see her. She just passed.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, it's 96 years, and I felt that part of her was gone already because of Alzheimer's and dementia. So the quality of her life was not the best. And so for all of us, it was like, okay, it was the moment. But now that my father and my mother are gone, I am the oldest, so I am next. In that way of reading things, you know. And so I am looking at death much more closer now and much more face to face. And I find that very important. And I find that as a good definition of elderhood, is the one who has one foot in the other world and one foot here. Because I feel that it's very dangerous, a culture of olderhood, of more and more people becoming old and decrepit, and walking into death backwards. I'm trying to develop a project called The Second Adventure of Life, inviting people my age to assume that age, to assume the limitations and the wonders of a life that is different, that is now not so focused on the external, on the goals, on the profession, on gaining things, but maybe it's more internal. It's more, what is it that I have learned from life that now I can give back as a medicine to the world? What is my legacy? You know, what is the fruit that matured in my experience that I now can give to others? And from that fruit inside are the seeds of the future. So how can we act for a 7th generation, as the Native Americans invite, that my actions are not inspired by the immediate problems of the world, but inspired by how 7 generations, the kids of your child, you know, can have a world in which they can live, and not only the humans, but the other than human beings, you know. So I'm being very possessed right now by the spirit of the jaguar. I want jaguars to be walking up the Ayala as they have done for centuries, 7 generations from now.
Wow, I am having goosebumps because also talking about these elders that are one step in the other world. I wrote a phrase that I heard from Confucio, and I was like, okay, I can use this in the podcast, but I don't know when. And like it says this: every man has 2 lives, and the second one starts when he realizes that he has just one. That he has only one life.
That's only one life. Beautiful. Oh, I know it. Can you send it to me, please?
Yeah. Send it.
For the second adventure of life, absolutely. Is the awareness of death, and it's more and more when you age. I mean, I bury people almost every month now. I mean, all my uncles and aunts, and now my father and my mother. And of course, younger people too. I have buried a lot of people recently for suicide, which is happening more and more. And it's this lack of meaning. Is this? I mean, there are 3 big crises: the ecological crisis, that is obvious that the ecology, the systems that sustain life, the ecological systems that sustain life are collapsing. The social crisis, you know. Hello.
Hola. Ya estoy por terminar. Chao.
¿Por qué?
Venga, saluda a la cámara.
Anyway, so the social crisis that almost echo what is happening at the ecological level, and then the lack of meaning. More and more people feeling, what am I here for? What is the meaning of this thing? Why am I making effort, or how can I find any joy in what I do every day? And I feel that crisis is leading a lot of people, and statistically between 16 and 25 and over 60 and mostly men are the ones committing suicide in the world today. So we need initiation, both of young people into life and older people into elderhood, you know. And the young people often find life through death, through taking risks, drugs, sex, alcohol, extreme experiences, you know. It's like you're trying to find life through these things. And then the older people find death through life, supporting life, giving what they learn. An elder doesn't need a lot of shit. An older keeps accumulating, you know. It's more and more because they are so empty inside. Once you learn a little bit of who you are, you don't need a lot of stuff, so you can give it away to the next generations to support life, both at the level of whatever it is that you know, and also at the level of the resources.
Yeah, I'm also remembering a study that I heard about men and women getting older, and like why women, for example, live longer than men. And that's because they have a closer social group where they can go play with the girls or do this or do that, be grandmas. But the older men, and I feel it's connected also with this the society that was against emotions, against, you know, man has to bring the food and have the pants, you know, but you cannot cry, you cannot, only anger was accepted. And this, I feel it also creates the more distance between men. So, for example, I heard that they had relationship while they were working, they had colleagues, and that was some sort of enough. But then retirement came like a bang, because then they don't have people that they actually connect with, and the group that they had was only for work, but that was enough at the moment. So then they are alone. They find themselves that they cannot express their needs. And I feel also maybe young men are in the same paradigm.
Yes. Yeah, no, the loneliness that we are all experiencing in the modern world is crucial. Yeah, you probably have heard also about what they are calling the blue zones. These places in the world where they found people that are able to live beyond 80, 90, 100 and strong lives, still working, still planting their food, socializing, dancing, painting, doing theater, reading, traveling, that have a strong sense of community. And yes, they probably have good eating habits, and they don't drink too much.
No, but and of purpose, right? As well.
But there is a life of purpose that is also social. You know, that you are giving your medicine to the world. You are sharing your resources with the new generations. You get up every day and you have something to do. It's terrible that you get up every day and the only thing you have to do is to take the pills of the day, go to the test, and go on Mainline on Medicare to receive medications, and sit in front of Netflix or whatever is streaming of nothingness that we now have access to. That is a terrible life. What for you want to be older, you know?
Yeah.
You want longevity. If you don't have anything to do with your days, with your lives, there is no passion. Coming back to passion. It's a passionless life. And when you see people like Picasso that painted like I don't know how many erotic paintings when he was 80, you know? And that's also another good passion to have, the erotic passion, but I'm sure it wasn't so much in his body anymore, but his brain. T.S. Eliot wrote a lot about the passion in his older age as well. And so people who are very connected to their lives, their authenticity, their creativity, their uniqueness, are probably people with better possibilities to live longer and productive lives. So yeah, that the authenticity is crucial in being able to be fully in the world, because nature only produces originals. No zebra is like any other zebra. They look the same for us in the eye, but no human being is like another human being. Your son is very different to you, like my son and my daughter, you know?
Yeah.
And even though I have been with them for a long time, but they are so unique and they come from the same. I am so different to my brothers and my sister. And we ate the same thing for many, many years and had the same influences from our parents and the neighborhood. And we each metabolize all those experiences in our very unique ways, because we're unique beings, unique individuals, unique souls, and it's very important that we connect more and more, that we become the authors of our life, not the victims of what happened to us. Like going back to theater, like I did a play about my experience with torture and the killing of my brother, and that was the best way I could to metabolize and to symbolize dealing with that horrible events in my life. But then I transformed it into a play, and that play opened the world for me. I did it in over 200 cities, in over 50 countries. It's funny that I opened the chamber of torture, and it opened the world to me.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't create the play thinking, oh, I'm going now to fly all over the world because of this. No, it happened. Because it was very genuine. It was coming from my soul. It was my unique experience, and I was able to transform it into a play that people wanted to watch, you know. And that was very healing for me. I loved doing the play, even though I was being tortured. I was the body of my brother being receiving the autopsy, etc. A very simple thing. It wasn't because it was this very beautiful aesthetic event. No, it was a very simple thing with 2 pieces of cloth. But it had some strength in the authenticity of the expression that it had.
Yeah, it feels like it wasn't a ceremony; it was more a ritual.
Yeah. And theater, for me, theater is a ritual. It's probably the modern world that we give ritual is art. Dance is a ritual. All creative act is an effort of the human spirit to transmute what we receive from life. And it's often done in nature. And you see the beauty of the altars, for example. The altars are like these thresholds, between this world and the other world. And they always had the elements, and you mentioned this also before: fire, water, ether or air, and earth and soil, and nature, which is always changing. And yes, and we are all made out of those same elements. We are 3/4 water, blood. We are the bones, like the mountains,
minerals,
and the air is always that. We are on fire. It could be below zero outside, and we have to be 37 degrees. It's Celsius. It's beautiful how everything is in us, and we are in everything.
Yeah. So not to steal much more of your time, I have a few questions to finish, like a little.
Yeah, don't worry.
That I do in every, and I want to continue doing in every podcast.
Yeah.
So the first one is, if you could go back to your childhood and meet your younger self and your parents, what would you like to tell them? Your parents first.
It's funny. Last week my mother was in palliative care, and I was next to her bed, and I wrote something, and one of the sentences was something that I told them, probably when I was a young adult. But I said to them, to my father and my mother, I thank you because you taught me all that I didn't want to be. Because I felt that my father's passivity, as I interpret as passivity with the world, my mom's take on the world as a horrible place, full of fear, etc., propelled in me a reaction. But I realized after she died, in this last week of meditation, connection with her, that I am who I am precisely because of that. Not only is in a reaction to, but I'm learning to appreciate the precision of the alchemy of life. That this whole idea that we choose the body, the family, the historic moment, the circumstances that we need to become who we are. And that's a nice sentence that I don't know why it resonates with me, but this week it has become very meaningful to me. That this woman, these very humble people that were my parents, allowed me to find a lot of who I am also. And the values that they had that I rejected for a long time and judge are the values that are in me as well, Probably, hopefully in a different expression. But no, they taught me, I learned a great deal from them to become who I am.
Yeah, and I feel it also. I know this sensation in a lower degree because I'm a little younger, but but also it's like we spoke about religion, that by rejecting religion we rejected spirituality, and I feel it. I did the same with my parents. So I rejected my parents' aggression and but there was strength and determination, and he was able to feed 11 mouths, and including my mom, so 13 with him and my mom, 13 mouths from a Peruvian young man that went to Argentina to study. And he was able to send us to the best school in Argentina and to the best universities. And I was rejecting that because he was strict. But then, wow, when I was able to feel the pain that came with this strictness, but I was able to also see the gift of wow, that's a powerful man, and the faith that he had in religion was also part of his purpose, and that I find it almost, or not almost, that's a miracle for me. His faith created a miracle.
Yeah, he found strength in that faith.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But my mother, in her very humble life, was so authentic. I took the world and literally, but the worst aspects of life, the shit, the pus, the blood, and put it on my mother's face, almost physically, like telling her, look how the world is.
Yeah.
She continues being who she was. At me, but she continued believing. And yeah, I describe my mother as a flower that grew and blossomed under the train tracks. And they pass over her with the smoke and the dirt and the heaviness. And once the train will go on, she will remain there. And there was a strength there that I still cannot figure out. You know, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I'm sorry, I forgot the other question.
The second question is, what would you tell the young Héctor?
Wow. There is a wonderful life ahead of you. Yes, with a lot of pain and a lot of sorrow and a lot of challenges, but that's exactly the life that you want to live, and the life that is going to allow you to become who you are. So yeah, I like my life.
Yes.
With all of that has brought. I mean, of course, I suffer with the amount of death and violence and suffered by many people next to me, and sometimes my own self. But yeah, but if I am asked if I will come back and live the same life, I will. Yeah. I also love the joy and the relations and the experiences and the beauty that I see every day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And last two. So, if you could teach one thing to the whole humanity, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. That we are connected. We are interconnected with everything that is alive and everything that is gone. That everything that has happened in these billions of years of evolution of the Earth and life and the planets and these galaxies is in us. And so what happens to us happens outside. What happens outside happens to us. That we are not separate.
Oh, that's some elder words.
Gracias, querido.
And the last one, in one word, how you describe the community El Juego?
Oh, wow. El Juego is
Or more than one.
a fascinating laboratory, a fascinating experiment of life embodied by all these seekers, you know, and seekers. I love that everybody came there with their woundedness, their stories of rejection of everything else in the world, their even their diagnosis, horrible diagnosis that they have been labeled with, and were able to hold the fire, to transmute all of that, and it still do. What I admire the most about El Juego as a community is that what you offer the world is what you are experiencing with yourselves. with your own cells, with each other. That is not a theory or a technology or a technique or a methodology. Yes, you are embracing all of these things, but you are finding your own unique, spontaneous, not spontaneous, but unique and authentic way of doing it. And of course, as an experiment, it has its problems. and I appreciate a lot that I am allowed to come and sometimes despocate and question and criticize, and you take whatever you want. But I still believe that it's a wonderful experiment, including all the risks that happen when you are there. So yeah, we cannot isolate El Juego from everything that is happening around. And El Juego is not the panacea. El Juego is not for everybody.
No.
But I felt for people like me, it is still being a place of enormous inspiration and a place where I love to go and be cut in pieces and put back together. So I love the experiment. I love what is happening. I love the integrity, and I love the authenticity of the search. So it's a human laboratory, unlike anything else that I have seen.
Yeah.
I call it a soul's mycelium. It's a place where, like in nature, the mycelium is always moving through the places where death is happening and extracts what continues feeding life. In El Juego, we bring and also I hope in the work that I do, is that we go into the wounded places of the human experience and extract meaning and extract healing out of it. We don't reject the shadow. We don't reject what has happened to us. We embrace it because it's also who we are and it's also part of our human experience.
Wow. Thank you. Wow, I loved that image. I saw it. And yeah, thank you. You're also always welcome in the community. And I already see you as an elder, as a master. So thank you very much for your humility and your play, your willing, your energy to play as a child as well, to discover. And thank you for this.
Thanks, Luis. Thanks for the invitation, and best of luck with the podcast. I will watch it.
Yeah.
Listen to it. Great.
Hey.
And give love to the family, man.
Oh yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah, greetings from Nina. Nina told me to send.
Give her a big kiss. All right.
Okay.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Cuídate.